And welcome back to Beyond the Headlines, where we are dedicating a good portion of this show at getting at the bottom of what went wrong with the I-84 project. As we told you, the project to widen the stretch of highway from Cheshire to Bridgeport was supposed to have cost $56 million. It is now ballooned up to $71 million. And joining us now with more on their take of what went wrong and needs to be fixed, the problems, are Michael O'Brien, an engineer with the State Department of Environmental Protection, Oscar Gomez, a developer with the Department of Social Services, and Ned Stachin, an engineer with the State Department of Transportation. Now, we had said they're widening a stretch of road to Bridgeport. Isn't it just Waterbury? Correct. Somehow that word got changed there, so I just wanted to make a correction with that. Gentlemen, as I had said, $71 million. It's up to now. In your opinion, is this gonna balloon even higher? What do you think of what you've heard so far?
The repairs certainly are going to cost more, but not just in the cost, but in the cost to the traveling public who now have to sit through delays. I think you mentioned that you travel that road frequently.
It's a nightmare. Yes, absolutely.
Nobody likes to sit in traffic.
Right. So this is a time where you guys are using this as state workers to say, hey, when it comes to public service and safety, we should not be selling out contracts to private companies. You had heard Senator McKinney say that he didn't think that was necessarily the problem.
Well, I do think it is a large part of the problem, because you have to remember that a private company has a main objective of making a profit, whereas I've been with the Department of Transportation for 21 years, and I'm a bridge inspector. When I look at these bridges, public safety is the key thing that I consider. And
what are you seeing in these bridges that are built by private companies?
Well, I think the majority of the work is done well, but I do know that there are problems, and I know that we need to address that. And I don't think that hiring it out to a consulting engineering firm is the way to do it. I think that the civil engineers with the Department of Transportation have an ownership of these bridges, and they are the ones that will give you the best dollar value in regards to the inspection.
To play devil's advocate here, and to be fair, Michael and Oscar and Ned, if you want to talk about this too, I mean, people all the time are saying, oh, state workers, it takes several of them to do a job 2 people can do. When it comes to bureaucracy with the DOT and other state departments, it's endless. And it can often be a nightmare. I actually had a mayor tell me that it was a nightmare dealing with the DOT and the bureaucracy, that getting something done took years and years when it could have been done much more quickly, which is a reason why some stuff has been privatized. What do you have to say about that?
Well, Tilly, I parallel this with the Rowland administration's failed attempt, I should say, to privatize information technology some years ago. We were able to come out and let the legislators, the public, and get them all involved as to why that was a terrible idea. And again, going by with the lowest bidder is not the way to go. And as Senator DeFranco mentioned earlier, there are certain services that must stay within state agencies.
But what about what I had said, the question posed, that when the state's involved, it takes longer. The bureaucracy and the red tape takes longer. Do you necessarily agree with that?
I don't agree with that, no.
I think the people that I work with at the Department of Environmental Protection and other departments that I've known through my union work, a lot of dedicated professionals that work for the state of Connecticut that are working there because of a duty or a want to do public service. Not the dollar doesn't drive them all to. We have no profit motive as a private contractor does.
Ned, what would you like to say about this? You heard Senator DeFranco saying that the problem necessarily may not be with DOT, but the fact that there have been many, many cutbacks, and you're operating with, let's say, more of a thinly knit crew.
Oh, we have definitely had smaller staff in my office in bridge safety, and we've done the best that we can. And unfortunately, a lot of the work that we do has been contracted out, and engineering work isn't a bid process. It's an approval process for engineering qualifications, and then they negotiate the price. So it's not even a case where you're taking the lowest bid. And
so who's inspecting the bridges? Do we really know that they're all getting inspected?
They are all getting inspected, and personally speaking, I think the bridges in Connecticut are safe, but we need to do a better job at the way these contracts are administered and the construction inspection is administered, because I think by catching some of these problems that come up in design and as a project is being built, you can save a lot of money by having the problem discovered early as opposed to, at the closeout of the project.
Who do you think is to blame for the I-84 debacle? Who's to blame? Whose fault is it?
Well, we're not really, I mean, I think that's all going to come out of the reports. It was in the audit that was done. People didn't report apparently what they saw, but we're really looking at a fix to the problem when we think that passage
And the fix is what?
I think a good portion of that is passage of the clean contracting reform legislation that we've worked so hard at.
Explain this to me very simplistically, because when you hear clean contracting, I'm sure the folks at home, it's very hard something to put your head around. But this basically would mean what? It would mean who wants to take a shot at it?
Well, it is an anti-privatization because there are certain things that lend themselves to being privatized, but we think that work that's done that relates to public safety, public health, information technology, where information should be kept private, should be in the public trust. And as Ned said about getting your bang for your buck with a public employee inspecting a bridge. There is a place for privatization, certain services that should be done, the specialty services that you wouldn't necessarily keep a state employee around all year to do an inspection, one day a year. But general, meat and potatoes state work that affects the public health and public safety should be done by public sector workers.
And the bottom line is you're hoping to get a bill passed, however the session is done. But from what I understand, Senator Williams and, of course, the Speaker of the House, Jim Amon, had said that perhaps they would take this up in special session. I mean, to me, as someone who's been there, covered the Capitol a lot, that seems unlikely, but you're hearing otherwise?
Well, we're hoping for that. We had broad bipartisan support for the bill that was passed in the Senate 34-2. We worked this year with the governor's office and with representatives from the nonprofits who had objections to the earlier bills that the governor vetoed. And it's our understanding that we have, the support of the governor's office as well. We just hope to get the bill up for a vote and passage.
Ned, Oscar, I have about 30 seconds. I can split between the two of you for final thoughts.
I think that the bill is very important to prevent these type of things from happening, and not just in DOT, but across all agencies and across all disciplines and areas that we as state workers are involved with.
Maybe you can explain to Senator McKinney saying, well, part of the problem is DOT, that they didn't expect it. Your response to that?
Well, no, I do think that there were staffing shortages, and I think we're, at DOT, we actually have consultants that are overseeing other consultants, and I think that's a problem. I think we need to have better oversight in the department, and I'm hoping that these hearings that are coming out next week will go a long way in kind of building a groundswell of people realizing that we need to address this problem, and that the privatization bill, the clean contracting is going to go a long way to do that.
Great. All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time.
Thank you very much, Shelley.